Is that you?
Yes, it is.
The reason I was trying to get that info is I'm trying to figure out, because I'm supposed to be part of this thing today. And I was trying to figure out what's the first ACT conference I attended.
I know, and we don't keep.
Isn't that funny?
I know we never got all the records from the other association management firms, and so David was trying to guess, and he was trying to do the best he could.
Yeah, because I'm trying to piece it all together. I started as a bike ped coordinator, but I don't think I attended ACT, or I must have attended ACT maybe as part of that, because I just remember there was this. For about 9 months I worked for a hospital system in Florida that was run by the Adventist Church.
Yeah.
And my boss and I both went out to the conference, which was in Scottsdale.
Uh-huh.
And we were in this session, and one of the presenters dropped an F-bomb.
Wow.
Yes. And so I was trying to remember. No, you don't see that every day, especially when you're sitting next to as conservative of a boss as you could possibly imagine. And this is the first time he'd ever been to a conference. And so I worked for that hospital in '93, but I'm pretty sure I'd been to a conference before that. But
well, I think Phil's on the line here if you want to ask Phil.
Yeah. Tom?
hey.
Yeah. Hey, somebody did this about a year or two ago, and let me try to figure out who did it, because we had enough holes in it. So.
Well, it seems like the sooner we do it, the better, or else, us old timers will fade off into the sunset, and we'll never know.
Yeah.
Which the most memorable ACT conference ever for me was the one in Miami.
And why is
mainly
that?
Because of the Vizcaya party.
Yep. Yeah.
And I thought that was in
wanted
92.
to say hey, everyone.
Hey, Paul.
Hey there. Just wanted to quickly say hey. Sorry for interrupting. Just want to let folks know I'm on.
Okay.
This is Sabrina, and I wish I would have gone to the Vizcaya party. Wow.
You say that now. I'm not sure if you had been there, you would say such a thing.
Oh, no.
Let's just say it ended up with an open bar, so I'll leave it at that.
Well, if it had just stopped there, it would have been good enough. It was the open bar fire stunts, and a group of us ending up getting pulled over by one of Miami's finest on the trip back because the shuttle buses had stopped running.
Oh.
Yes.
Miami does tend to bring the best out of people.
It was actually a good thing that they did that, though, because we were going the wrong way on a one-way street.
Oh, my God, Tom.
I was not driving, for the record. For the old-timers here, Steve Gavora was driving.
Yep.
All right, real quickly before we get started here, everyone. Paul, I just sent you the request so that you could have access up, and you're already doing it. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you could do that.
Okay, yeah, I was testing for a little bit. I couldn't do anything but there. It looks like it's going through now.
Okay. All right, I'll give it back over to you in a second. I just wanted to make sure that that was the button to use. We're still new to all this.
Perfect. No worries. Yep, looks good.
I have a question about the polls, Casey. Well, first, thanks so much for doing this for us. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
Are they polls, like I've never used Zoom interactively before. I've seen I've logged into like a webinar like this, but
yeah.
They pop up on the screen, or am I just asking people to respond into the chat box, or?
So I just opened it up, and I have a button that says launch poll, and it should launch up on the screen, so we can allow everyone to vote, and then there should be an option after I close it to post it, so you can discuss, oh, like, wow, most of you said yes or no, or whatever the case may be, if you want to talk further about it.
Right, excellent. That's what I needed. Thank you.
And just to make sure there's no confusion, I'll definitely not try to click anything or move anything while in the poll phase, just so you have total control and I'm not messing anything up.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. That's why I'm holding on to it now.
What made you guys switch softwares, Casey? Just curious.
We were having a lot of trouble with GoToMeetings, GoToWebinar. We heard a lot of great things about Zoom. A lot of other organizations that we talk to and work with use them, and they were a little cheaper. And clarity-wise, people calling in, it's been clear. This is kind of our first go-through for a webinar system. So, and actually, we have quite a few folks coming on right now. Just to let everyone know, we'll get started in just a minute here, a few minutes.
Yeah.
And just so I make...
Paul, have you heard from him?
Sorry, what was that? It kind of broke up.
Have you heard from Dan?
Yeah, I did speak with him this morning, so he should hopefully be on. Him and Caitlin here in a little bit.
I see Caitlin's on the attendee side. I just want to make sure from the attendee side, Caitlin or Destiny, I see you guys are on the attendee side. Can either of you just type in the chat box, make sure you can see the screen, my screen I'm showing for the PowerPoint. Beautiful. Thank you, Destiny. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. See, we got a bunch of folks on the line now. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today for the SEACT chapter meeting. I just want to go through a couple quick housekeeping items for you. All attendees are on mute. So if you have a question in the chat box, just go ahead and type it in and we'll try to get them answered, I believe towards the end, but we'll try to get any quick questions if you're having any audio issues answered right away. We do have a full lineup today. Actually, real quickly here before I get started, Paul, I think Dan is on Caitlin's line, but she is on the attendee side, as we mentioned. Does he have to log in from the other one to call in as a speaker?
Oh, sorry if that played hold music. Dan was calling me, trying to get in.
Okay. Was he able to get in to start, or?
He was trying to find your email from Tuesday, so hopefully I pointed him in the right direction.
Okay. All right. Would you like to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, this is Sabrina. So
Okay.
as Vice President, I will stand in place of our President until he logs on, and then Dan, once you're on and connected, we'll open it up for you to make some comments. So thank you everybody for joining us today. We're really excited, as we mentioned probably several times in the emails that hopefully you received, inviting you to attend, that this is our first chapter meeting of 2019. We know it's always a challenge kind of with our chapter because of the geographic area that we cover, to be able to get together and to make events interactive and interesting. But we will continue to try to bring as much information as we can out to the members and engage everybody. As always, if you have any ideas, please feel free to mention them to us. When we were looking at and discussing developing the agenda for today's meeting, we really wanted to take a focus on activities and information that is relevant and current to our members. And so we kind of lined up 4 major initiatives that we wanted to accomplish throughout this meeting. And that's available funding to support local events, ways to offset costs to attend conferences, ways to build your resume through SEACT involvement. And we're really excited about that specifically because we have invited Tom Cerny to come and kind of give a history of his activities in TDM and with ACT. For those of you that know Tom, he has been, I guess, kind of a trailblazer and in the TDM world. And so he's going to provide a lot of insight, we think, on how participating can really be a key. So thank you, Paul. As you can see, this is your 2019 board, including our communications and marketing chair, Brittany Barrett, as well as our membership chair, Stephanie Loika, who we're really excited to have on board this year because we think that's going to be able to expand a lot of our activities. So moving into the area that I'm going to cover, I am Sabrina Glenn with the Piedmont Authority for Regional Transportation, and I have the honor of serving as your Vice President. I wanted to touch a little bit on some of the available funding to support your local events. This year in our 2019 SEACT work plan, we have identified $1,000 to help offset the costs related to local TDM networking, events, summits, workshops, basically whatever you're doing in your area, we want to support. I know as a manager of our program here in Greensboro, North Carolina, we always have a challenge being able to afford food for different events, or even if we wanted to hold a networking event, how can we use funds to do that? Well, our SEACT budget gives an opportunity, or this budget we've identified in our work plan gives an opportunity for our chapter members to reach out to us, let us know about an event or an activity that you might be doing and how we could financially support that. We are not being specific on what that activity looks like, so maybe you want to do a coffee with colleagues type of event where you're pulling together employers, TDM practitioners in your region just to network and talk to each other about what's going on in their activities. Maybe there's a local brewery nearby your program where you would want to hold an event. It's not specific, and we're not going to be related to just a summit. Although we did sponsor last year, the Atlanta Regional Commission did a summit, a TDM summit in their area, and we're really happy that we were able to support some of their activities that they did there. So it's as easy as an email to us, letting us know what you have going on and what you would be looking for as far as a contribution from the SEACT chapter. Of course, we're going to ask that you promote SEACT in some way at that event, as well as ACT, but it's just that easy. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that we are also going to be doing a membership drive challenge this year. So if you have an employer in mind that you think might be on the cusp of joining ACT, we are going to challenge our members to help us gain membership, and the organization that has the most sign-ups during our challenge will actually receive $250 towards any TDM-related need or activity in their region. So after mentioning all of that, I think we have some poll questions we wanted to ask the group. And
do you want? I'll launch the first one. Here we go.
All right. So a couple of questions for everyone out there. First, do you plan to host an employer recognition event at your chapter or at your organization in 2019? If we offered a webinar on how SEACT members are recognizing employers, would you be interested in attending? We have a variety of different chapter members that do things from the Golden Modes in the Go Triangle area to Atlanta's TDM Summit, and just wanted to know about that. And then, would you be interested in presenting on something that you've done in your region? We get a lot of feedback that people want to know what other chapters are other programs are doing, and so we're always interested in what speakers or organizations we can bring to the table. And then finally, what topics would you like to see SEACT webinars or training on?
We'll just give it another few seconds here, Sabrina.
Sure, thank you.
Sabrina, can you hear me?
Oh, Dan. Welcome, Dan Tanda, our SEACT president.
You're doing a good job. Go on.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the polling here for you, Sabrina. It looks like just about everyone has voted here. Okay, and you can go ahead and if you want to go over the results. We'll share it right now.
I actually can't. There we go. So this is great. We really appreciate everyone's feedback. We are doing our best, and we'll continue to try to get the feedback from our members out there. It looks like a webinar on employer recognition is something that is highly interested, so we will work very diligently to get something out to the group in the next couple of months, and then continue to work on some of these other items. Thanks, everybody. I am now going to turn this over to Paul Straw, who is our SEACT secretary.
Great, thank you, Sabrina. And let's see, trying to advance the next slide. While I'm waiting for
there you
that
go.
to
You
actually
should have
push
control.
through.
You have control now, Paul.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see. There it is. All right. So here we have just a couple of little screen captures of what our scholarships look like. We do offer several scholarships throughout the year to help our members with either ACT or SEACT activities, as well as help them with their professional development. As a member of SEACT, one of the really important things I think we can do is encourage participation with this group. There's a lot of really neat conferences and opportunities that are out there, so we want to encourage that and support that. And as a board, we've decided it's very, very important to help with the funding, because we know that that's one of the challenges that a lot of organizations face, is just how do we get our people there. So that said, I wanted to talk about a few of the different scholarships that we offer. Some of these are sort of yearly. The new membership scholarship application is a good example of that. We do offer one scholarship that is for $575 to help towards the registration of a new member. So that's a very important one. So that one is always open. And we will send out links to each of these different scholarships. After this meeting, we'll send out a follow-up just to summarize some of this. And there are some current scholarships that are active that individuals can apply for. And then throughout the year, as well as different scholarships, as they arise or become available, we will send those out as well. So that's why it's really important. Always check your newsletters that we send out, check your emails. We have a lot of really good information in those newsletters and those emails, and often it will contain a link to the scholarship application, so that's important. The next upcoming scholarship that we wanted to talk about, it is the Emerging Mobility Summit. Hopefully others have seen this. I saw this earlier this week, that the registration process is now open, so you can go through that. We are offering one scholarship to that. That will be in April 16th through 17th in Austin, Texas. There's an early bird registration rate right now, so if you're planning on going, definitely take advantage of that. And then our submission deadline will be March 1st to apply for this scholarship. So we definitely want to give you ample time to apply for this scholarship. The application process itself is pretty simple. We just get your name, contact information, and then we do ask you to fill out a series of questions. We want to make sure that we're making the best selection for these different scholarship opportunities. Some other scholarships that are coming up, we do have ACT International. That's one of my favorite conferences to go to. We are offering 2 scholarships to ACT International. That will be August 4th through 7th in New York City, so that should be fun. Definitely excited about that one. That's my favorite conference, I think. We have a TDM Forum coming up November 12th through 13th. That'll be in Seattle. We will be offering 2 scholarships to that TDM Forum. The ACT Impact Leadership that program. We offer one scholarship to that. That's definitely a really big and important opportunity for our members. So the scholarship that we offered last year, that's actually going to happen sometime soon. I think it's in Walt Disney World, if I could be mistaken. I believe that's in February, early February. So we have already awarded that scholarship, but we will be later in this year, we will be offering that Impact Scholarship once we have additional details about that, as well as the TDM certification. There's been a lot of talk about that. We will be offering 2 scholarships to that. So as we have more information on that, we look forward to offering those scholarship opportunities. So with that said, we're going to hand it over to, I believe, Michelle.
Hey, Paul, before you leave that real quickly, just wanted to ask, we did have one question on that topic in regards to the New York City Scholarship. Do you know when you guys are opening that up? Someone was asking the question if it would be closed before early registration ends so that they could know if they got it or not.
That is a great question.
That's probably something we should do, though, so they can apply early, and then they'll know way ahead for their planning if they want to come or they want the scholarship.
Yes, I would have them do it as early as possible or have the process start now. We are opening registration on February 1st, and that will go till sometime at the beginning of May will be early bird reg. But you know, if for some reason you guys had to extend that scholarship or the deadline, we could always hold early bird registration for whoever won. So if need
because
be.
they'll be planning their trip, and that's going to be a big part of the payment, I'm sure, for them if they want to travel.
Right.
And when did the early bird registration end?
I think it's going to be sometime the beginning of May, first week of May.
Okay, I think that falls in line with what we have. I'm looking at the actual scholarship form right now. We have April 26th as the due date. So this scholarship application form, that will go out in the very near future, very likely in the follow-up email that we send out, just to kind of thank everyone for participating in this webinar, and it'll have all these important links in there. We'll make sure that we include that in there because it's ready to go. So yeah, the sooner the better.
Okay, great.
All right, perfect. All right, and do we have Michelle? I think we're going to hand it over to you now.
Hello. And I'll just make a quick comment since I'm the treasurer. That was a very competitive application last year. So just be prepared for that. So the more the merrier. So hi guys, sorry I sound a little congested. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold right now, so sorry. But super excited to talk with you guys today. So on our board, they asked me just to speak about just some opportunities with kind of building your resume within ACT. And I'll share a little bit of my story with you, but there is a webinar in a couple weeks that ACT has already set up. So I highly encourage you to be on that. It has some really great speakers. I believe Elizabeth Denton is going to be on that, as well as a couple other people. So once again, I think ACT has so many great opportunities. And so for me, just a little bit about me and my story and how I kind of got involved. So I've been with Enterprise 13 years, and I've been on our commute team for just about 7 now. And when I first started, I just wanted to learn more about TDM and what it was and how to get involved, because I just really wanted to make sure I was connecting with the right people and also, you know, trying to help out the Vanpool groups, right? So I was really fortunate with my employer, and I was able to go, I started, actually, it was in February, and I was able to go to the first conference a few months later, and then I met a ton of people. And I would also say kind of be careful what you wish for. I started networking with the people up in the DC area where I'm originally from, and was up there for a few years, and just started going to events and being involved in the webinars like this, and just started raising my hand and just said, hey, like, I'd love to be on a committee, or, you know, what can I do to get more involved? And when you raise your hand, people start throwing things at you, as Casey will attest, because we all love volunteers, right? Because this is a volunteer organization, and we're all trying to push it ahead, and we all want to do what's best for our customers, but also, you know, learn in the industry. So when I started doing that, I started getting involved on the Vanpool Council, and have been the public policy liaison for the last few years. I'll be stepping down off that role. And then once again, I asked to get involved, and then I ended up being the treasurer of Chesapeake within a couple of months, and then moved down here to the South and fell in love. So I've been really fortunate with ACT, and I feel like ACT has been an incredible networking experience for me, as well as bolstering in my career. It's afforded me a lot of opportunities. The more I've become involved, the easier it is for me to have the conversation with my employer of, hey, I'm on the SEACT board, so I really need to be able to travel to this event, or being involved with public policy, I need to be able to go to the fly-in. So I think as people who are looking to get more involved over the next few years, you know, that commitment, that time commitment can be whatever you put into it, you get out of it. So, I mean, it can be anywhere from a few hours a month to we're doing things weekly. But I would say look at the interest. The councils are really amazing and helpful. We have two subcommittees that Sabrina had talked through earlier. The first, of course, is our marketing committee, as well as membership, and then communications and marketing. And actually, Paul and I are going to talk about a new one that we're creating, which is a technology, and I'll pass that to him in a minute to explain that a little bit more. But I would say, like I said, the more you get in what you put out, or you put out what you get in. Sorry, I'm going to blame my cold. And I really think that what I've been able to pull out of ACT has not only helped my career, but really made lifelong friendships, and really kind of gave me a sense of purpose, in the sense of I really want to see this organization go to the next level. I think there's been so many great things and so many changes going on. And I think if you reach out, whether it to be someone here on the board at SEACT, whether it be, you know, if you're interested in telework, or, you know, maybe whatever challenge you're having at your office, try to get on that committee. Not only can you potentially meet a mentor, you can also try to gain some insight. So I can't speak highly enough of it. And hopefully you guys get more involved, and hopefully, you know, in a few years, you guys will be on the board and kicking all of us out. So, Paul, do you want to touch base? Does anyone have any questions or anything? Or did I go too fast?
I don't see any at this time.
So, Paul, do you have, so the technology committee that we wanted to talk through, I'm going to pass it over to Paul so he can kind of explain that concept and what we're looking to do.
Perfect. Yeah, great. Thank you. And I'll piggyback on those sentiments. Is like when you want to raise your hand to volunteer for something, ACT and SEACT is a really good opportunity to get you super engaged and keep you busy. So a big pat on the back to all of our board members and everyone involved with SEACT. It's a really fantastic organization to be part of, and we work with a lot of really, really good, engaging, active people. So with that said, when I first joined SEACT as the secretary back in 2018, I realized that one of our biggest challenges, it was simply just the distance between the board. We have members in various states, and we have lots of information and documents and files that we wanted to share with each other. And the solution that we came up with was a Google website just for the board. And so it lets us take advantage of the Google suite of services, which has been pretty fantastic. So from a technology standpoint, we made a big shift in how we share data and how we access files and things of that nature. Another challenge that we had was managing passwords to various accounts. We have things like MailChimp and different survey softwares like Wufoo and SurveyMonkey, and then we have social media like LinkedIn and Facebook. So we now have a more unified login system and password system, but keeping all of this information and access to this technology, it's a little bit tricky and a little bit time consuming, because we are trying to make sure we manage that appropriately with a handful of different staff members, and those staff members will change over time as well. So the position of the SEACT secretary keeps me super busy, and a lot of that's sort of things I've taken on myself, but we kind of had this idea of coming up with a technology chair, which would be someone who would help manage all things kind of tech related. This would be a person responsible for keeping track of different files and records and making sure everything was up to date on websites. And we're talking about developing potentially a new website just for our members. So there's a lot that goes into managing all this information. And we thought having a specific chair could be something really helpful. So we're still figuring out some of those details, but we're looking to propose this this new chair position to our members in the very near future, with the goal of having this voted on by our members and updated in the bylaws in the coming months. Time seems to fly, obviously, for so many of us. So this is something that we want to make sure we get pushed through to help with the transition, even for next year. So we will actually look to get this pushed through fairly quickly. So we'll have information for you. Again, this is really important. Keep tabs on those links that we send you, any of the newsletters that we send you. It will have all this information, and we will be asking for probably a vote here in the near future as well. So keep an eye out for that, and then definitely let us know if you have any questions about this. We're glad to help. So that said, that's the new technology chair we're talking about. And now I'm going to pass this over to Shelley Parker. So Shelley, it's all yours.
Hold on one second. She's muted. Because I'm controlling it right now, Paul. All right, now
gotcha,
go
no
ahead.
worries.
Shelley, you should be able to talk now.
All right, can everyone hear me now?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so I have some pretty information intense content to go through as part of the webinar. And to make it even more fun, my slide is also pretty heavy intense. So the good news is you don't have to read. You can just listen to me. And I'll go through everything. In 2018, ACT went through a lot of changes that were really great for our membership. And as a membership organization, it's very important to note that we only have 3 full-time staff members. And other than that, we have some outside consulting firms or contractors that provide work for us. But in order for a membership organization to be successful, they have to know what the members want. And just checking to see which emails from MailChimp were clicked and which ones weren't, and what percentage of the membership participated in a survey on satisfaction or what programming they want. It's not enough to move an organization forward and keep it very successful and on the cutting edge of the industry, which is what we really want to be. So my role with the SEACT chapter is I am currently the chapter director serving on the national board. And as part of that, we reviewed opportunities to change ACT a little bit by adding in more committees. So one thing to know is that councils and committees are very different. You can learn more about the councils on the website, actweb.org. You can see there's councils tab drop down right there up at the top. And councils are great. I participate in the Telework Council. Like Michelle, our treasurer, mentioned, she's participated in the Vanpool Council for many, many years. But the committees are different. The committees are also kind of working groups, and each one has different roles. The good news is on a committee, no one is standing there alone. So a quick overview of the different committees that are out there. I'll start with the 3 that are, a little more traditional business type committees, and the first would be the Finance Committee, and that's to ensure the association's financial stability. So if you really dig getting into budgets, looking at investments, trying to figure out what our program fees should be and how our sponsorship development should go, then the Finance Committee may be somewhere that you want to look at participating in the future. And each of the committee has a member, a maximum and a minimum number of members, and you can find that information online, or if you want it, I'm happy to send it out to you. And the Finance Committee is chaired by the treasurer of the National Board of Directors. So you have leadership there, you have staff there to assist, and you also have our accounting firm to assist with this process. But we want to make sure that the membership is aware that there's transparency and that the membership is weighing in and participating in the finances of the organization. The second traditional committee is a governance committee. And this is a really great place for someone who is perhaps looking to serve on the board of directors but doesn't want to jump right in. And this committee is charged with reviewing and enhancing the effectiveness of the ACT's board of directors. So if you like reading through bylaws, if you don't see a lot of gray areas in things, and you really like to be a stickler for rules or seeing where information contradicts one another, that's where we really need your help, is the governance committee. And it looks at not only what the board is doing, how we might be able to do it better, but it looks at best practices. Are there conflicts of interest? Is there conflicting information between different handbooks or the national bylaws and the chapter bylaws? All of those are really great recommendations that the governance committee reviews and then can send to the board of directors. The public policy committee, I think, is one that a lot more individuals are familiar with. And Phil Winters from Qatar is currently the SEACT representative to the public policy committee. And Michelle, our treasurer, has served on the public policy committee as a Vanpool representative previously. And this is a very long-standing committee. It looks at ACT's public policy agenda. And as someone who works for an organization that receives federal dollars, I cannot lobby. So it's very important to me that the National Association can recommend to elected officials what we need on behalf of our transit agency, on behalf of our TBM organization, and that they have that specialization in place in that information. And that's where the Public Policy Committee is key. So if you're interested in that type of information, being a participant in that, you are certainly welcome to self-nominate and participate in that committee. There's a minimum of 9 members and a maximum of 13 members. And there's also a review to make sure that we have various sectors of the industry represented there. So it's not just all corporate interests or all government interests. It looks at governments, municipalities, universities, private industries, and Vanpool providers, all as part of the compilation of that committee. And then the final 3 are a little more lighthearted, but the work that they do is still very serious. The membership committee focuses not just on recruiting new members, and if you're not into sales, then you think membership, maybe it's just recruiting, not really for me. But the membership committee also helps assess member satisfaction to make sure that we are keeping our current members happy and that they want to continue to pay their dues. And it makes sure that we're looking at all sectors of the industry again to have a very well-rounded definition of membership for the Ag National programming. The SEACT chapter also has a membership committee. It's just getting kicked off in the last year or so. So if you're interested in volunteering for that, you can talk to Sabrina, and she will be happy to hook you up with that information. The second to last national committee is the Professional Development Committee. And it's important to note that this is not the planning committee for the annual conference, but it works more focused on associated development opportunities. So the Impact Leadership Program, that is professional development for individuals who've been in TBM 5 years or fewer. Looking at managing the Peer Advisory Leaders Mentoring Program, known as PALS. And it's also identifying those pre-conference workshops. And if you've never participated in one of those, I would highly recommend it. They're typically more intense, and they are focused on very specific material to help you develop your professional career there. And finally, we have the Program and Events Committee. And although it's not the only thing that they work on, this is the committee that works on the annual conference, but they also work on a lot more. And they work with staff to develop an annual calendar of events, like the webinars that are going to happen in the next week or so. And it also means assisting the chapters with developing programming at the local level, which is really important for chapters like ours, where we are very geographically spread and can't always get together for quick little conferences or one-off types of meetings. So that's those are the different committees that are out there. I hope that you will consider serving on one. We did have nominations closed in December for the upcoming year, but it's never too late to learn about these. And if there are opportunities that become available in the future, or if all of the nominations were not filled, then you may hear more about those later. So the second thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which is also pretty business-like, is a proposed change to the SEACT bylaws. And the proposed change is that we stagger the terms of our chapter board members. So currently, right now, the way our chapter board is established, we could have a complete turnover of our president, our vice president, treasurer, secretary, and public policy representative all at the same time and have a completely new board. And change is good, but it can also mean that we lose a lot of history. So the SEACT chapter board and I reviewed options to allow for the staggering of terms to encourage some institutional knowledge to be able to stay and exchange between board members over time. And so what we are proposing is that the SEACT vice president and the treasurer would synchronize on their terms, and that the president, secretary, and the public policy position term limits would align. That means that the president and the treasurer would be up for election this fall for beginning new terms on January 1st, 2020. And in order to stagger it, we're proposing allowing the current representatives as president, which is Dan DeAnda, secretary Paul Straw, and public policy participant Phil Winters have terms extended by 1 calendar year so that they would go through December 31st, 2020. So this is a proposed change. It will require voting by chapters members, and that's why we're providing this notice now. And we will provide more information, opportunities to ask and answer questions, and get all of this process coordinated and executed before we go into the actual nomination process for the 2020 elections for board members. I'm checking to see if there's any questions for me yet, and I don't see any. So I'm going to answer one that popped up earlier, and it was, where do we stand in terms of the TDM certification? So right now, the status of the TDM certification is, you may recall, there was a call for participants to nominate themselves to participate in the Board of Trustees for the TDM professional certification program. And the final list of Board of Trustees has been reviewed, and that process is moving forward. And if all goes well, we hope to conduct the first round of certification testing in this calendar year. So that's the best update I can give you for now. If you want more detailed information, you can feel free to reach out to me or Casey or any of your SEACT chapter members, and we'll get the information back to you.
Yeah, I would just add there, David had mentioned that probably the earliest certification would happen to be closer to the fall timeframe. So don't believe anything will come up this spring or so, but look for more information over the summer and into the fall for that.
Great. Thank you, Casey.
So up next, we are going to transition, as I mentioned, you got the slide? We have Tom Cerny, who has agreed to join us and talk a little bit about his history with TDM Act and SEACT. So Tom, you're up.
Wow, a picture and everything. You know, as impressed. I got to say that's just this software that you're using works really, really well. I'm on these type of things all the time, and this one seems to be working as good as any as I've ever seen. So congratulations to whoever made the decision to switch to this. So I've been involved in TDM since, I guess, 1989. Like many people, I kind of stumbled into it. I didn't really go to school to become a TDM person. I actually went to school to get into sports marketing, but in college, I raced bikes fairly competitively, and was the first job I was offered out of school was to start the Orlando, Florida Bicycle Pedestrian Program, again, back in 1989. And I was just thrilled to have a job, and showed up on that first day of work, and I found a box of cards that called me a transportation planner and an alternative transportation specialist, and I've been here ever since. Did that for several years. It was a great opportunity, especially for somebody young coming out of school. Then went to work for Florida Hospital to set up their TDM program. As far as I know, I was the first full-time privately funded ETC in the Southeast. Then was only there for a short time when I was offered the opportunity to be the executive director of the Downtown Orlando TMA. Did that for a number of years, then went over to Bay Area Commuter Services in Tampa, Florida as their planning manager, and then was approached by a private consulting firm to lead their TDM efforts. And one thing has led to another. That company was bought, and then the next company was bought, and then the next company was bought. And now I work for AECOM as the travel behavior change TDM practice lead corporately. So who would have guessed that I would be still doing this almost 30 years later, but it's been nothing but rewarding and a really, really great experience. So from an ACT standpoint, it's kind of always been together. I guess when doing the bike ped stuff, I was more involved in the bike type national associations. But once I became an ETC at that hospital, ACT has been part of my life ever since. And I was talking to folks earlier trying to figure out what was the first ACT conference I attended, and apparently it was back in 1993. And for those that are new to ACT or maybe haven't been all that involved, I would say get involved as soon as you possibly can, because it's a rewarding experience. And the nice thing about ACT is there's always an element to their conferences and now webinars and stuff that apply to what you do. So back in 1993, I was an employee transportation coordinator. And there were plenty of people at that conference that were doing exactly what I was doing and could, guide me as to what works, what doesn't work, and made my job a whole lot easier. And then as I became a TMA director, again, going back to a conference, getting involved with ACT, there was plenty of TMA directors that could help me with that part of the career. And then as a planning manager, same thing. There's always people at these conferences that can be very, very helpful to you. So as I evolved as a professional, ACT was always there for me to support me, or people within ACT were there to support me and all. I'll say that this is a very, very exciting time to be in this business. I can't think of a time where it's been more exciting, except maybe when I was first getting started. But there's so much going on right now, so many changes that are happening very, very quickly. And I'm glad to say that ACT is staying on top of these things and providing all of us the information we need to adapt our programs to technology changes and to the private sector investments in these type of things. And the conference has been adapting. The webinars that are out there and the educational opportunities are all out there. They've been adapting as we need them to be part of this. Being real honest here, there were times when ACT kind of went on some bumpy roads, but I can say now that I've never been more convinced that ACT is a great, great organization to be involved with, and the leadership that we have and the staff that are available to us have never been better. And my suggestions to you all would be to get as involved as quickly as you possibly can, because being in a leadership role or being in volunteering your time just makes the experience all that much better. So I don't know if y'all have any questions or whatever, or anything I didn't touch on. I'm certainly always happy to throw my 2 cents in.
Tom, can you real quick give us a highlight of the different roles that you've had within the ACT National or the SEACT chapter?
Well, all right. So, during those bumpy times, I'll be honest, I kind of stayed away. But as I saw things stabilizing, and as my career got to a certain point and I had some time available for this, I got involved with SEACT and served, I guess, as vice president there for a couple of years, and then was elected to the national board and just got reelected to that. So enjoying that time, enjoying the people that I'm meeting there, and looking for bigger and better things out of the organization.
Great. Thank you so much, Tom. And I'm sure Tom has always been great. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask him directly, I'm sure he would be happy to let you reach out to him and communicate. And now we'll turn it over to Phil Winters, who is our public policy representative, for just a quick update, and then to Dan to close us out and open us up for questions.
Great. Thanks, Sabrina. Thanks, Tom. That was pretty good summary. I'll try to go rather quickly. I am serving currently as the SEACT rep for the Public Policy Council. recently we had a meeting of the Public Policy Council, and among the changes that are coming is Rob Henry will be, our former ACT president, will be taking over as the new Public Policy Chair. ACT is gone to an open nomination process, which I think the executive committee and the full board are to act on in early February to see who else will be on the council going forward, rather than a chapter designee. It's individual volunteers. So just because I'm serving on the Public Policy Council, it doesn't mean you couldn't apply for that in the future as well. Most recently in the January call, we talked about, we had a representative from Congressman Blumenauer's office who has submitted a Commuter Benefit Act proposal, or is in the midst of submitting one. Among what that would do is try to expand it and put bicycling back into the Qualified Transportation Fringe Benefit program, and actually do it a little bit differently than it was done before. The idea would be to put it in as part of under parking, and valued as a percentage of whatever parking was. Previously, it was $20, up to $20 a month reimbursement. They're proposing trying to put it in as 20% of what the parking benefit is. And it's now, so it'd be about $50 right now. They look at maybe submitting two bills. One is really addressing the bike issue, and then the other is actually maybe adding more of the new mobility options. The pool transportation network companies is an eligible expense. Carpool services and car share also may be part of that. Clearly, the intent behind all this is not transportation network companies just driving one person, if you will, like a cab, but the options where they have people actually sharing the ride, like Uber Pool, for example. Right now, there's apparently interest for submitting, but there's no co-sponsors. Just keep up to date on that one, or keep monitoring that one. We'll be doing that. As you can guess, with the FTA is out, affected by the shutdown, though the federal highway is not. So that is certainly, as we're all quite familiar, reading a lot of problems. DeFazio, who will be assuming control of the committee, has kind of expressed some interest in doing things like maybe a VMT tax to help make the trust fund more sustainable going forward. So he's at least open to that, which is, we'll see where that pans out. The ACT has submitted some draft legislations to the T&I committee, which has moved the proposal to their legislative council to convert it, what we suggesting, things like a national committee and a national strategic plan for TDM, and perhaps a state plan and a state committee or advisory committees for TDM. We put that forward, and it's gone to their legal counsel to develop legal language, hopefully by the end of this month. And then it'll be shopped around, if you will, for co-sponsors, and hopefully will be introduced before in early March. Of course, everything is up in the air as far as timeline. And what it will do is do things like helpfully define TDM. The Legislative Council may not end up using the wording that was suggested. Part of it is to take what we suggest as a suggestion and to modify it. So that would be among the types of things we'll be tracking going forward. And with that, let me turn it over to Dan in the interest of time. Or I'll turn it back to Sabrina in the interest of time.
Can you hear me now?
I was just going to jump in.
Can
yeah,
you hear
I
me?
can hear you. Dan?
Okay. First of all, thank you, Phil. For some reason, I muted myself. But what I'd like to say, though, on behalf of all of us, that you have a very hardworking board. And as you can tell by the meeting today, we're really trying to serve our members. We're trying to get you really involved in the organization. And we've got so much talent on our board right now. And perfect example, Tom Cerny. I've been with him forever since we started. and he definitely gave us some insight as to how successful we can be, even more so in our jobs, by joining SEACT and ACT National. So please, it's up to the members to guide us also. So we definitely want your input. If there's anything you would like to see changed or done. I know one of the things Tom recommended was us trying to work with interns to get them to go to the conferences. So that's one of the things too that we're going to put on our agenda to work on together. But once again, thank you all so much for attending, and definitely we look forward to working with all of you. With that, I want to open it up to the members. If you have any questions, by the way, our next webinar will be April 2019. We'll give you the exact date. Any questions from anyone?
And just so everyone knows, the chat box is open. Feel free to type in any question you might have for any of the panelists. They're here and ready to answer your questions. We'll give it another minute or so here. Any of the panelists have anything else they'd like to add before we conclude?
This is Sabrina, and I just want to retouch on what I think Paul did a really good job of hitting on is, please read the newsletters that we're putting out there. I don't mean to sound like we're begging, but we are trying to fill those with useful information as far as what we can do with our chapters. So when we're putting messages out there about the networking opportunity funds, the sponsorships, we'd love an opportunity to highlight some of the things that you might be doing at your programs that could be interesting to other members. We also, as we're looking into our work plan for 2019, one of our big initiatives will be to actually develop a SEACT-specific website. It is going to connect with the ACT National site, but we really want to make a website that can be used as a resource for our members, so putting things like simply the URL to all of our members' different programs. I don't know about you guys, but we spend a lot of time here at my program Googling other programs to find out what they're doing and how they're doing it. And if we had a certain location that everybody could go to get that kind of information, we're hoping that can be a real asset to the members in the chapter, putting marketing materials, all that kind of stuff. So we are very excited about that.
Awesome. And one other thing I'd like to add is that we touched a lot on committees. Shaylee really did an excellent presentation on trying to get you informed, and also, by all means, like Tom said as well, you learn a lot and you make mistakes and you just go forth with new information or new ideas, but it's a big stepping stone for your future, and it's a lot of work. It's a volunteer issue, but the knowledge that you gain is unbelievable.
Thank you, Dan. And actually, we do have one question here from Miranda Clements asking for the TDM listserv info. So I'm not sure Phil or Sabrina want to pass that along to her.
I think Phil would be.
Yep, Phil. She would appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you. I think that's it.
Michelle, I just want to.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say one last thing is just thanks for all coming. And please reach out and get involved. You don't have to do like crazy time commitments. It can also be, just a little bit, any little bit helps. But please reach out to any of us, and, we definitely want to expound SEACT and make it the best it can be. And the more people involved, really the better it will work out. And we have money in the bank and we want to spend it. So clearly we do have work plan restrictions and we can't just spend it all. But please, the Coffee with Colleagues events, anything like that that you're doing locally, we'll be more than happy to, try to throw some money your way. And if possible, one of us might be able to attend. So,
or even ACT National.
Yeah.
There we go. So that's all I wanted, just my 2 cents.
No, that's great, Michelle. And I'll even just add to that, for folks that haven't done anything with us, especially from a national standpoint, something as little as we're going to be outreaching to folks, and we need judges for our upcoming awards that we have nominations for our international conference. It's a variety of topics and areas that we look for some of the best in the U.S. So it's a great way to not only help out within the membership, but to be able to see what other programs are working on and doing. It's kind of unique and cool. So if you're interested in judging some of our upcoming ACT National Conference Awards, please reach out to me, Casey Murphy, and love to get you involved.
Okay, anything else from anyone members? Do you have any questions?
Nope, just looks like a lot of comments from folks saying that,
Right.
Elizabeth from Kentucky just saying that she's found this presentation very informative, so thank you. And that's it. All right, well, thank you all for being on the call today. We hope you found it useful, and we look forward to seeing you at the next SEACT chapter event.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.